Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Dynamics 365 Tech Talk. Today's topic is the inventory to deliver business process overview in Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. My name is Philip Seaton, and I will be your moderator today. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Nicole Joyce, Senior FastTrack Solution Architect. Nicole, over to you.
Thanks, Phil, and welcome everyone. So let's get started by reviewing our agenda for today's session. We will be doing an overview of the inventory to deliver end-to-end business process, and then we will cover the business process areas. We will then dive into specific use cases and demos, and we will cover some resources that you can follow up this session with. And as Phil mentioned, we will have some time for some Q&A at the end as well. So let's get started with the overview. The first thing I want to do is show what the inventory to deliver business process looks like as far as our published Dynamics 365 business process catalog. So we talk about the catalog in 4 levels. The level 1 always being the end-to-end process. So we're in the inventory to deliver session. So let's look at the levels below inventory to deliver. At level 2, we consider this the business process areas. So an example of this under inventory to deliver would be the business process area of manage warehouse operations. At the level 3 of the catalog, these are our specific business processes within an area. So following our example of manage warehouse operations, we have specific processes in that area, such as define warehouse processes, as well as manage work assignments. The ... in the hierarchy are just to indicate that this is certainly not all-inclusive. This would be a very busy diagram. So let's then go to the level 4. This is the specific scenario, or you might hear us refer to it as pattern. So this is one way to perform a business process. At the level 1, 2, and 3, the catalog is largely product agnostic. But when we get into the level 4 scenarios or patterns, we are specifically talking about ways to do that business process within a particular product. For inventory to deliver, we are usually talking about Dynamics 365 supply chain management as the business application or the product that is applicable. So some examples, if we look at the define warehouse processes, business process, the level 4 scenarios may be define forward picking replenishment flows or define transfer order receiving flows. Similarly, if we're looking at the manage work assignments process, we could be defining worker parameters or assigning picking work to worker pools. Those are specific scenarios or patterns of that process within Dynamics 365. So to give you one more example here, under inventory to deliver, let's look at the level 2 on the kind of the other side of the hierarchy is analyze warehouse operations. And then at the level 3 business processes underneath analyze warehouse operations area, we would have measure warehouse performance, and also includes report on inventory quality. So then again, at that level 4 area, this is the specific scenario or pattern. When we're talking about the process of measuring warehouse performance, we might be analyzing on-time and in-full delivery or reviewing worker efficiency. And then similarly, under report on inventory quality, we might be doing scenarios such as generating certificates of analysis, or printing reports about our quality orders. So again, this is a simplified view of our overall inventory to deliver area, but hopefully gives you a better idea of the hierarchy and the levels that we'll be discussing from our published business process catalog. Okay, so establishing a good inventory to deliver process is critical for any organization that wants to efficiently manage its supply chain operations and meet their customer demands. Effective inventory management helps ensure that the right products are available at the right time, in the right place, and at the right cost. So this is really what we're focused on for an efficient inventory to deliver end-to-end process. Some of the benefits of using Dynamics 365 for your inventory to deliver process include increased customer satisfaction. We have real-time visibility into inventory levels and delivery status that helps ensure timely order fulfillment and accurate delivery estimates. Reduced inventory cost. So the optimized inventory levels and automated management reduce the chance of stockouts, overstocking, and the associated carrying costs or opportunity costs. Then we have improved cash flow. So better inventory control and faster order fulfillment lead to higher sales revenue and that improved cash flow for the business. We have enhanced supply chain efficiency, so streamlined vendor management, reduced lead time, and improved order accuracy all are encompassed in that enhanced supply chain efficiency. And finally, data-driven decisions. So powerful analytics and reporting tools help monitor key inventory metrics to help business users make informed decisions. So these benefits collectively lead to improved business performance and profitability. So let's cover some of the stakeholders and roles that are vested interest in this inventory to deliver business process. So first, of course, we have our inventory stakeholders. These are people like your warehouse managers or your transportation planners. We also have customer service stakeholders. So this might be a customer service director or a call center manager. We then have planning stakeholders. So this could be somebody like an operations manager or a planning manager. We also have procurement stakeholders in this area. So it could be a buyer or a purchasing agent. We also have the sales stakeholders. So it could be your sales director, could be a general manager. And finally, we have production stakeholders in this area. So somebody like a production schedule or a production plant manager that would all have an interest in the various business processes in this inventory to deliver end to end. So let's drill into that level 2 and look at what are all of the business process areas in this end-to-end. I know we covered a few of them when we talked about the hierarchy, but we want to cover all of them for you in the overview today. All right, so it starts with the managed warehouse operations. So this involves the setup of our warehouses and locations. It also includes managing the resources that are required for warehouse operations, such as the workers and equipment. You can look at this as the foundational configuration for warehouse and inventory processes. Next, we have maintain inventory levels. So this area involves managing inventory levels to ensure you have the right balance of inventory to meet demand while also reducing those overstock scenarios. So this includes setting up inventory policies, monitoring your stock levels, and creating replenishment plans. It also includes the management of inventory movements within a warehouse, adjustments for gains and losses of inventory, and that critical cycle counting process. Next up, we have the process inbound goods area. So this area involves receiving, inspecting, and processing incoming inventory. It includes tracking incoming shipments, managing the receipt of goods, and generating put-away plans for items. In addition to purchase order and transfer order receipts, it also includes the handling of customer return orders, which are also an inbound activity. Next, we have the processing of our outbound goods, and this area involves the picking, packing, and shipping of goods to customers or other warehouses. It includes generating our picking lists, packing slips, shipping labels, and managing the shipment of goods. In addition to sales and transfer order outbound shipments, it also encompasses the handling of vendor returns and cross-docking opportunities from production orders, or what we consider opportunistic cross-docking. Next, we have manage inventory quality. So this area involves managing inventory quality, including inspecting, testing, and classifying items based on quality criteria. It includes tracking quality issues, creating corrective actions, and managing nonconformities. Then we have manage freight and transportation. So this area involves managing our freight and transportation activities such as managing shipping carriers, rate shopping, and reconciling freight costs. It includes setting up transportation policies, managing freight contracts, and optimizing our shipping processes. And finally, we have analyze our warehouse operations. So this area involves reviewing our defined KPIs and various warehouse efficiency reports. So as I mentioned earlier, under each of these areas is a list of those level 3 business processes, which then all contain a series of those level 4 scenarios or patterns. And that's what we'll be getting into in just a moment with the use cases. But before we do that, I want to highlight quickly where this inventory to deliver end-to-end process sits in the broader scheme of the business process catalog and all of our defined end-to-end processes. So you'll see that there are several upstream processes, including design to retire, source to pay, and order to cash. Some examples of why these are upstream processes are because you need an item to exist before it can be sold. So that is in our design to retire end-to-end process. And then, of course, we need inventory on hand before we can make a sale. And that is included in our source to pay process for procurement. And then finally, we need a sales order that we can actually pick, pack, and ship out our goods, which happens in our order to cash end-to-end flow. But then you'll also notice that some of these processes, some of the same ones, are downstream of our inventory to deliver process. So if we can continue with that order to cash example, while a business process may start in order to cash with a sales order creation, we use our inventory to deliver processes such as process outbound goods that have to take place before we can then pick up the order to cash process with something such as our invoicing steps for that sales order. So hopefully this gives you a good visual representation of what is both upstream and downstream of our inventory to deliver end to end. All right, so with that stage set, let's dive into the use cases now, and it will include demos as well. Okay, so you're going to see a couple of different graphics that we're moving through. The first one that you see here at the top are all of those business process areas, the level 2s that we just reviewed. And we're going to show what are the level 3 business processes under each of these. And then we'll be selecting a use case, a level 4 scenario from the list of the level 3 processes to complete our demos. So we're going to start with the one that's highlighted here in purple, the manage warehouse operations, and work our way across the business process areas. So the level 3 business processes that are under manage warehouse operations includes define warehouse processes, design our warehouse layout, document our warehouse policies, and manage work assignments. So of these level 3 business processes, the level 4 scenario that we're going to use for our first use case is define purchase order receiving flow. So you'll see a slightly different graphic here on the use case slides. These are also moving us through our process, but they are showing the selected level 3 business process in the outer box. So that's, in this example, the define warehouse processes. And then in the inner box that is filled in, it's showing the level 4 scenario. So here we have define purchase order receiving flow. And we will be moving through all of these similarly from left to right. So first scenario is that we have Contoso Entertainment System, and they manufacture, distribute, and install home electronic equipment, and they have multiple distribution channels. We have a warehouse manager, Ellen, and she wants to define the flow of goods for items arriving in the warehouse, from unloading of the trucks at the receiving dock to putting away the goods in their appropriate storage locations. So her requirements are the ability to receive against ASN or advanced shipping notification information from the vendor, the ability to stage goods in the receiving area before they are put away into storage, and the ability to consolidate any new receipts coming in with existing items that may already be in storage in the warehouse. So let's move to our first demo for this use case. So to address those first two requirements, our warehouse manager, Ellen, is going to configure a new mobile device menu item for license plate receiving. So this will allow the warehouse workers to register goods against the ASN information from the vendor and stage the goods for put away later. We also call this a two-step receiving process, meaning we are just registering the goods in the first step, and the second step will be to put the goods away in a separate process. To address the final requirement for consolidation, she'll configure a location directive for purchase orders, and she's going to specify the consolidation strategy in the location directive actions. I want to note that this is obviously not an exhaustive list of required WMS setups for this process, but we are just demoing what is required to meet the requirements for the scenario. You may also see that she selected a group of warehouses, meaning this single directive will apply to all the warehouses that are named within that group. Okay, so we are moving to our second business process area, which is maintain inventory levels. So let's review again the level 3 business processes that are under this area. So here we have track supplier managed and consignment inventory, as well as track customer managed inventory and consigned inventory. Then we have process inventory movements, stage inventory, count inventory, and adjust our inventory levels. So of these business processes, we are going to focus on the level 4 scenario for our second use case is stage received goods in a warehouse. So if we look at our use case here, again, we're under the stage inventory business process, and the specific scenario or pattern is to stage receive goods in a warehouse. So our scenario here is that we now have a warehouse worker, Vince. He unloads the trucks at the receiving dock. He uses his mobile device to scan the goods and stages them in an area near the dock for put away later. This is that two-step receiving process that the warehouse manager, Ellen, defined previously. So the requirements here are the ability to receive goods by scanning a license plate and the ability to stage goods in that receiving area before they're put away. So let's go through our demo here. So to unload the truck, Vince is going to log into the mobile device, and he's going to select the inbound menu and select that ASN receiving option that was defined by our warehouse manager, Ellen, for this process. So this option allows Vince to scan the printed license plate barcodes to register the goods as received at the warehouse. The license plates are defined as part of the ASN information sent by the vendor and contain the item and, where applicable, case information for validation that the expected units and quantities had arrived. The receiving area is represented by a single location in the system, the default receiving location for the warehouse. The physical movement of the goods to the staging area doesn't require confirmation on the mobile device in the receiving flow that Ellen had defined previously. Okay, now we can move on to our next business process area, which is the process inbound goods. So our level 3 business processes in this area include receive goods, label received goods, put away the received goods, cross-stock received goods to outbound orders, and quarantine received goods. So the level 4 scenario we're going to focus on here for use case number 3 is receive stocked product. So let's look at our use case. Again, we're under the put away received goods business process, and we're looking at receive stock products scenario. So we've got a warehouse worker, John, who is responsible for clearing that inbound dock staging area by putting away the received goods to their appropriate storage or forward picking locations. The equipment that he drives, a long forklift, allows him to pick up and move multiple pallets at one time for efficiency. So the requirements here are the ability to perform group put away or to pick up multiple things at one time, and the ability to consolidate, again, those new receipts with the existing items that are already in storage, that we were making the most use of our warehouse space. So let's move into the next demo. So now we have John, who will log into his mobile device. He will also select the inbound menu, but he's going to select the purchase put away option. He's going to scan each license plate that he'd like to group for a single trip to the storage location. When he's done picking up the license plates with his forklift, he will indicate on the mobile device that he is done grouping. And the final step on the mobile device shows John where to deliver the goods. As Ellen defined in the receiving flow, the received goods are consolidated with existing on-hand inventory in the warehouse. All right, great. So let's move into the next business process area, which is process outbound goods. So our level 3 business processes under this area include allocating goods, releasing goods for picking those goods, packing the goods, loading the goods onto trucks for shipping, cross-docking produced goods. Again, this is that opportunistic cross-docking scenario, and returning goods to the vendor, outbound returns. So the level 4 scenario we're going to focus on here is for use case number 4, we have use reservations to allocate inventory to specific orders. So we're under that allocate goods business process. And again, we're using the scenario of use reservations to allocate inventory to specific orders. So the scenario we have is that we have a customer service representative now, Susan, who wants to reserve a pallet of car radios for her longtime customer. These radios are very popular, and the warehouse just got another shipment in stock. So she wants to reserve a quantity of 10 against a new sales order for her customer. So the requirements are the ability to reserve quantity against the sales order line directly. So let's look at this demo. So Susan already has her sales order in line that she wants to reserve the quantity of 10 so that it's not consumed by another order. So she's going to click the inventory reservations menu from the sales line. And here she'll see the inventory that's available for the site and warehouse that's specified on that sales line. And when she's ready, she'll use that reserve lot button to commit that reservation for her quantity. So if we go back to the sales order, she'll now release the order to the warehouse to generate the picking work. This is technically the next process in our business processes, but we're going to release the goods to the warehouse for picking so that we can continue to follow our scenarios through here. So that's just one way we can accomplish this requirement via the manual reservation. And of course, we've got configuration in the product that drives whether or not that reservation is manual or automatic. So we're just showing you one example here with placing a manual reservation against the sales order line. We are actually going to stay within this process outbound goods business process area for one more use case so that we can kind of complete our end-to-end story here. So we're now going to focus on the pick goods business process. And our use case number 5 is going to be use the warehouse mobile device to automatically direct users for picking. So this is just one scenario of the pick goods business process. So let's look at our scenario. We have warehouse worker John, who has completed clearing out the inbound dock, and he's now switching tasks to perform outbound picking activities. He reviews the open work that's available, and he's going to begin picking orders. So the requirements are he needs the ability to view a list of available work on his mobile device and the ability to direct the user to the appropriate picking location, as well as we need the ability to confirm the location during the pick to make sure we're in the right place. So let's look at the demo here. So we've got John, he's going to log in, and we're going to call out something here that we haven't seen yet, and that is our Copilot summary screen, and it summarizes the open work at the top. So this is one way that we can now see kind of what is available in the warehouse. But we're going to open up the work list, which also shows us a card view of open work items to complete, and he's going to select an item to complete the picking. He's directed by the system to the picking location and the item that he needs to pick. And you'll notice it doesn't just direct him there, but it prompts him to scan the location in order to confirm it. And this is also configurable in the system. And then he's able to complete the put to the location specified, which is our bay door outbound location. So again, this is a demo of just one way we can complete user-directed work with our mobile device. We clearly have a highly configurable solution within our Dynamics supply chain product. So just a reminder, this is just one way that we can complete this scenario. Okay, so let's move from that process outbound goods business process area and into our manage inventory quality. So we have several business processes under manage inventory quality, including defining quality procedures and tools, building a quality plan for a product, maintaining the quality certifications, inspecting our inventory, reporting on any quality nonconformance, handling any quarantine goods, performing corrective and preventative actions, as well as scrapping defective inventory. So of these business processes, the scenario we are going to focus on for use case number 6 is isolate inventory by moving to another location. So we are under that handle quarantine goods business process, and we're going to be doing the isolate inventory by moving to another location for our scenario. So while John was completing his picking work, he notices that one box of car radios is actually physically damaged. He doesn't have the time to stop and open and inspect the items, but he wants to move the box to a quarantine location for further inspection by someone else. So the requirements that he has is just to have the ability to perform an ad hoc movement from his mobile device. So let's look at the demo here. So John, he's already logged in. He's going to use the movement menu item to manually move one of those car radios to quarantine. So he starts by scanning the license plate that the damaged item is on and entering the quantity he wants to move. If you notice, it defaults to the quantity that's actually on hand for that license plate, but you can update it to a partial quantity if needed. Next, he scans the quarantine location and an existing license plate that he can then move that damaged inventory to. And now his movement is complete. So that's pretty basic, but it speaks to kind of how universally applicable the movement menu item is. We could create a dedicated movement item and default data such as that quarantine location if this is the only process that we are using this particular configured menu item for. All right, let's move into our manage freight and transportation business process area. So our business processes at the level 3 that we have in this area include planning transportation loads, rating the loads, routing loads, scheduling dock appointments, printing our shipping documentation, processing freight invoices, reconciling freight once we have those carrier invoices. And the level 4 scenario we're going to focus on is under print shipping documentation. Our use case 7 is going to be to print our packing slip. So let's look at our scenario. So we have an outbound clerk, Alice, and she facilitates the work to clear the outbound dock staging area where all the trucks are loaded as the carriers arrive for their pickup appointments. So she needs to print a packing slip for each order and include it with the shipping container. So her requirement is just the ability to print a packing slip to include with that shipping container. So let's look at the demo. So we've switched personas to an outbound clerk, and she's working in the Dynamics UI now and not on the mobile device. So as part of her packing process, the requirement is to print the packing slip to include a physical copy. So to do that, she's going to first confirm the outbound shipment. And once it's confirmed, that enables our packing slip print button. So she'll check the print button, and this form remembers the last choice of the user. So if this is a typical process, she does not need to do this every time. But she'll review if the print management is enabled for this form, and it is. So she'll check the use print management destination box and click OK. She can choose a specific print in the settings or even print to a PDF if she's going to send it via email. But in this example, we need a physical copy, so she printed it to the screen. And hopefully you saw that flash there before the demo video rewound. But basically, we have a packing slip that was just generated to our screen. Again, this is a pretty basic example of a shipping document, but we may also have things like bills of lading or export documentation that needs to be printed within this business process. Okay, so we've made it to our final business process area, which is analyze warehouse operations. So within this area, the level 3 business processes are define warehouse management KPIs, measure the warehouse performance, analyze our inventory levels, and report on inventory quality. And the level 4 use case we're going to look at here is to review worker efficiency under that measure warehouse performance business process. So let's look at our scenario. So we're back to warehouse manager Ellen. She's responsible for also periodically reviewing worker productivity rates to identify both performance concerns and any opportunities to reward her high performers. So she's using Dynamics 365 to compare the worker efficiency against her defined productivity goals. So the requirements are that she needs the ability to review the productivity rates by worker. So let's look at our final demo here. So in this example, warehouse manager wants to inquire on the productivity of the workers. One option available to her is to view the data in the embedded Power BI workspace called Warehouse Performance. Excuse me. This dashboard contains several reports for analyzing warehouse performance. To review the worker efficiency information, she's going to navigate to the warehouse picking work throughput report at the bottom. To further filter this view, she can update the date slider or drill down to a specific warehouse, which she manages. Additional filters can also be set in the filter pane on the right, but she's going to collapse this pane in order to view the full report. So she can now scroll through the report to view pick line duration by warehouse location, type of work, item, units, and most relevant to our scenario, by worker. So by clicking to highlight a specific worker, she can then review the details in the report to determine whether this worker is meeting their productivity goals. So you can see that the data is highlighted just for the worker selected. And as she's scrolling through the report at the bottom, we also have the details of the picking work that this user has completed. Okay, so that gets us through all of our use cases and our demos. So I want to leave you with some resources. All of these will be clickable links. So when we share the presentation with the recording, you'll be able to click on all of these pages. So we've got to start our business process documentation. So with our business process catalog that has been published, we are actively working on publishing all of the individual articles at all of the levels that go along with the catalog. So for this inventory to deliver area, you can start with the introduction to inventory to deliver business process article. And then you'll see the other ones kind of underneath of it on our Learn site that have also been published. I also want to point out, we mentioned an AI feature for our Copilot summary on our Warehouse mobile app. So I also wanted to leave the link for the overview of the Copilot capabilities in finance and operations apps. Of course, this is an area of heavy investment for our product team. So this article is being updated all the time. So it's a good reference. Some other Learn articles that are also worth referencing are our product documentation. So not the business process documentation that we're talking about today, but also the product documentation that goes along with the relevant modules here. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we are largely talking about the Dynamics 365 supply chain management application, and some of the modules that are relevant here are the inventory management, warehouse management, and transportation management. All of these landing pages are just the overview page for the module, but they will get you to a point where you can then see all the related product documentation underneath. And then along with our Learn articles for our product documentation, we have training courses that can be accessed as well. So those inventory courses, learning paths are on our Microsoft Learn site as well through this link. And then, of course, I have to mention our community forums. These are what was Yammer and we now call Viva, engaged channels. So these are some of the relevant ones for this area, including our kind of all up kind of warehousing and transportation group. We have one that is specific to just that warehouse management app that we showed several times in the demos, as well as there's one for more focused on manufacturing, production control, and other supply chain management questions as well. So if you're not already on Viva and using these channels, please bookmark them. They're a great resource. Not only do we engage from the FastTrack team, the product team engages on these threads, and it's a great place to get just help or answers to questions from your community members as well. Okay, with that, I think we're at a point where, Phil, do we have any questions that we could address from the chat?
Yeah, we've had one come in so far. And for everybody else, again, feel free to post those in the Q&A chat on the side of your screen there, and we will try to get to those as we still have a good bit of time. Yeah, so the first question that came in is regarding the actual order of the business process as to how it was defined and who defined it, and what was the decision to have managed inventory quality be after inbound and outbound operations instead of between. Could you explain a little bit how we put those processes together?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, with the business process catalog, I guess in general, right, we're looking at some defined business processes, such as from the APQC catalog, right? So we didn't just make all of these up out of nowhere, certainly, but that's how we kind of came up with the initial set of the end-to-end areas, the business processes underneath. As far as the sequencing within the kind of individual end-to-end, I will say that they all, and by all, I mean all of the end-to-end areas, so inventory to deliver, order to cash, design to retire, they all start with some sort of, manage business process area, and they all kind of end with that analyze business process area. And in between the sequencing, really it was, whatever seemed like it made the most sense, right, in a business process flow. We know there are areas where maybe it could have gone in a couple of different places. There's really no hard and fast rule to the sequencing other than to try to make it the most logical, right, for the flow kind of within that end to end. So the other thing I'll note, right, is that the business process catalog is being published at least quarterly, I believe, is Rachel Profit. She's the one kind of leading this initiative from our Microsoft team, kind of all up. And she's trying to publish that catalog on a regular occurrence. So there's always updates being made. That it's certainly kind of a living catalog. And we're always looking for contributors, right? If you have feedback on the catalog, if you feel strongly, right, that we've missequenced something or we've missed something entirely, we certainly want to hear that feedback. You can leave it in the chat here. You can leave it in the survey at the end. There are also some more formal channels for kind of the business process guidance as far as like focus groups that Rachel is running and things like that as well. So we're certainly happy to take your feedback.
Great. Thank you for that. So another question we had from the morning session was regarding what is a good way to interact with this business process catalog, and how do you incorporate it into your own project?
Yeah, thanks for bringing up that question because we didn't talk about it explicitly since this is kind of a functional overview of the area. But one of the things that we do have is some tooling, right? You can go to GitHub, you can download the business process catalog. It exports in like a CSV file. But one of the things we recommend you do is to import that file into an instance of Azure DevOps. And that will allow you, right, to kind of see the full catalog, and not only these kind of 4 levels of the catalog that we've defined, but some additional work items that come with the catalog, like configurations, like data migrations, right? In some of the areas, we've even defined things like workshops, right? Like a requirements gathering workshop that your consultants could run, and what questions do they ask, right? To kind of flush out the requirements for these specific business processes and areas. So there is a lot of content in the catalog other than just this 4-level structure that we've defined here. And so if you import it into Azure DevOps, you can then, of course, query on it, kind of create your own views. I think we had somebody ask this morning about how do I see all of the scenarios that are just related to lean manufacturing, right? That would be a great way to do it, right? Import it into Azure DevOps, query on those use cases that are just for lean manufacturing. One other tool that I will mention is Maven, and that is a third-party tool we've been working with where they have imported our business process catalog, and they've got some nice visualization right on top of the business processes and the flows that kind of allow you to click through. Rachel has done some demos of that. There's a whole Tech Talk series on the business process catalog that I think, Phil, if we can quickly find the landing page for that, we can leave it in the chat here as well. But if you're just curious, right, on some of the tooling, those are some of the options for interacting with the catalog.
All right. Well, I think that pretty well covers all of the questions submitted for today. Again, thank you all for joining us today. This concludes the event.